How does a man become invisible inside a family he built? How do you clap for someone you think is beneath you and not realize the bill is still in his name? This is how my daughter laughed at me in public, and how everything she stood on disappeared the next morning. My name is Raymond Holt, and I am 61 years old. I say this not because age defines me, but because at 61, a man should have earned enough respect to not be treated like hired help by his own family. I built things before I understood what building meant. Not just houses or businesses, but a life, a legacy. I started with nothing but calloused hands and a willingness to work 16-hour days. My father was a factory worker who drank his paychecks. My mother cleaned houses until her knees gave out. I watched them struggle and promised myself I would do better, and I did. I met Charlotte when I was 23. She was working as a secretary at the county clerk's office. I had gone in to file paperwork for my first business license, a small landscaping operation I was starting with borrowed equipment. She smiled at me across the counter, and I knew immediately that I wanted to build everything for her. We married 6 months later, had Vanessa 2 years after that. Charlotte was the kind of woman who could make a can of soup and a loaf of bread feel like Thanksgiving dinner. She stretched every dollar, supported every crazy business idea I had, and never once made me feel small when I failed. And I failed plenty in those early years. By the time Vanessa was 5, I had transitioned from landscaping to property management, small apartment buildings at first, then duplexes, then, gradually, larger parcels of land. I learned that dirt and contracts were more valuable than labor, that ownership beat wages every time. When Vanessa was 12, Charlotte collapsed in the kitchen while making breakfast. Aneurysm. She was gone before the ambulance arrived. I held her hand in that kitchen and felt the entire foundation of my life crack. After that, it was just Vanessa and me, a 12-year-old girl who had just lost her mother, and a man who had no idea how to be both parents at once. But I tried. I worked double shifts at the processing plant, took night classes in business management, saved every dollar that didn't go toward keeping her fed, clothed, and safe. I made sure she went to good schools, made sure she had opportunities I never had, made sure she never felt the weight of poverty that I grew up carrying. By the time she graduated high school, I had built enough that she could go to college debt-free. She could choose her major based on interest, not on earning potential. She could date boys who came from money without feeling like she didn't belong. She chose business administration, met Eric Vaughn in her junior year. He was getting an MBA, came from a family with old money and new aspirations. When they got engaged, I bought them a house as a wedding gift, not a starter home, a mansion, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, granite countertops, hardwood floors, a pool in the backyard. The works. The deed went into a family trust I controlled. I thought I was protecting them, protecting her. I never imagined that one day I would need to protect myself from them. Vanessa and Eric had Lily 2 years after the wedding. I was there in the hospital when she was born. Held her in the waiting room while Vanessa slept, and Eric made phone calls to his parents. From that moment, I was Grandpa Ray, the man who showed up with birthday checks, the man who helped with logistics when they needed something organized, the man who sat quietly at holiday dinners while Eric talked about market projections and corporate strategies. For 16 years, this was my role: provider, facilitator, the quiet man in the corner who handled things. This morning, like every morning, I woke at 5:30, made coffee in the small kitchen of my own home, a modest 3-bedroom ranch-style house I bought 30 years ago. The mortgage has been paid off for 15 years. The appliances are outdated. The furniture is worn but comfortable. It suits me fine. At 6:45, my phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. "Morning. Can you swing by at 7? Need to go over party details." No. "Good morning." No. "Hope you slept well." Just a request, phrased as a question but functioning as a command. I replied, "I'll be there." I arrived at 7 sharp, parked in the driveway behind Eric's BMW. Let myself in through the side door, the way I always do. The house smelled like expensive coffee and something baking, probably from the automatic bread maker they got last Christmas. Vanessa was in the kitchen, leaning against the marble island, scrolling through her phone. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun. She didn't look up when I walked in. "Hey, Dad. Coffee's fresh if you want some." I poured myself a cup from the expensive machine that ground beans and brewed at the push of a button, sat on one of the high stools across from her. "So," she said, still looking at her phone, "the venue sent over the final invoice. I forwarded it to you. 12 grand. I pulled out my phone, opened my email, found the invoice, scanned the itemized list. Ballroom rental, catering for 100 guests, DJ services, photographer, videographer, floral arrangements, custom lighting, valet parking. That's fine, I said. Great. She tapped something on her screen. Also, Tiffany, the event planner, wants to do a final walkthrough this morning. She said 10 o'clock. Can you handle that? I can handle that. Perfect. I have a meeting with a client at 9:30, and Eric's got back-to-back calls all morning, so it's just easier if you go. I nodded, sipped my coffee. It was good coffee. Probably cost more per pound than I spent on groceries in a week. Oh, and one more thing, Vanessa said, finally looking up. Valet parking is extra, like an additional $2,000. Can you believe that? $2,000 just so people don't have to walk from the parking lot. Do you want the valet? She gave me a look like I had asked a stupid question. Of course I want the valet. It's Lily's Sweet 16, not some backyard barbecue. For presentation matters. I pulled up my banking app. Authorized the transfer while sitting there. $12,000, moved from my account to the venue's account in seconds. Then I sent a follow-up email to the event planner confirming the valet service and the additional $2,000. You're amazing, Dad. Seriously. Vanessa set her phone down and picked up her coffee mug. I don't know what we'd do without you. She said it the way you thank someone for holding the door, automatic, reflexive. Then she picked up her phone again and scrolled through something that made her smile. I sat there, holding my own phone, feeling the weight of $14,000 leaving my account and wondering if I should say something. Ask to be included in the walkthrough, mention that I wanted to see where my money was going, ask if maybe, just maybe, she could acknowledge that I was doing more than just handling logistics. But I didn't. I never did. I should get going, I said, standing up. If I'm meeting the planner at 10? Perfect. Oh, and Dad? Wear something nice, okay? Tiffany's really particular about aesthetics. She's one of those people who notices everything. I looked down at my jeans and flannel shirt. I'll change. Thanks. You're the best. I left through the same side door I came in, drove home, changed into khakis and a button-down shirt, looked at myself in the mirror and wondered when I had become someone who needed permission to dress appropriately for an event I was paying for. At the event planner's office, I was greeted by a young woman with blonde hair pulled into a severe ponytail. She was wearing a headset even though she was sitting alone at a desk. You must be the vendor coordinator, she said, smiling brightly. I'm Tiffany. I blinked. I'm Raymond Holt, Vanessa's father. Her smile faltered, just for a second. Then it snapped back into place, wider than before. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I thought, never mind. It's wonderful to meet you, Mr. Holt. Just Raymond is fine. Of course, Raymond. Let me just pull up the event file, and we can go over everything. She turned to her computer, clicked through several screens, and then swiveled the monitor toward me. So, as you can see here, we have the timeline locked in. Guests arrive at 7, cocktail hour until 7:45. Then we transition into the main ballroom for dinner at 8. DJ starts music during cocktails and keeps it going through the evening. Photographer will be capturing candids throughout, with formal family portraits scheduled for 7:15. I nodded, studying the timeline. What time are formal portraits? 7:15, right after Lily arrives, but before the cocktail hour ends. That way we get everyone while they're fresh before dinner. Am I included in the family portraits? She looked at me blankly. Let me check. She scrolled through her notes. I have Vanessa, Eric, and Lily for the immediate family shots. Then extended family, but I don't have a specific list for that. You'd have to ask Vanessa. I'll do that. She nodded and moved on, clicking through photos of table arrangements, lighting setups, centerpiece designs. Everything looked expensive and identical to 100 other events I'd seen in magazines. And you're handling the final payment today, correct? She asked. Already done. Oh, perfect. That's so helpful. Vanessa mentioned you were taking care of all the logistics. That must be such a relief for her. There it was again. Logistics. As if paying for the entire event was equivalent to picking up dry cleaning. Is there anything else you need from me? I asked. I don't think so, unless you have questions. No questions. Great. Then I'll see you Saturday evening. It's going to be a beautiful event. I left the office at 11:30, drove to the bank to deposit a check from one of my rental properties. The teller, Patricia, had worked there for 15 years. She greeted me with genuine warmth. Mr. Holt, good to see you. How have you been? Doing well, Patricia. How about you? Can't complain. Are you here to make a deposit? Just a rental check. She processed it quickly, her fingers moving expertly across the keyboard. Then she leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. Mr. Holt, I wanted to give you a heads up about something. So Vanessa called yesterday asking about account access. She wanted to know if she could be added to the family trust account. I felt something tighten in my chest. What did you tell her? I told her that any changes to the trust would require your signature and authorization. I didn't provide any account details or balances, just explained the procedure. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate you letting me know. Of course, I figured you'd want to be aware. I left the bank feeling that strange awareness again. The same feeling I'd had when Vanessa called me her logistics guy, when Tiffany assumed I was a vendor coordinator, when Patricia mentioned Vanessa trying to access accounts she had no legal right to. It was the feeling of being useful but not valued, necessary but not respected. I drove out to the ranch. It's about 40 minutes from town, past the highway and into open land where the sky stretches wider than seems possible. Miguel's truck was parked near the barn. He was inside, checking on a mare that had been favoring her left front leg. "Stone bruise," he said when he saw me. "Nothing serious. Should be fine in a few days." Miguel Reyes has worked for me for 22 years. Started as a general ranch hand, worked his way up to foreman. He knows cattle, land, equipment, and weather better than anyone I've ever met. More importantly, he knows when to talk and when to stay silent, when to ask questions and when to just work alongside you. We walked the fence line together, checking posts and wire tension. The afternoon sun was warm, the kind of heat that reminds you summer is still holding on, even as fall starts creeping in. "You seem quiet today," Miguel said after a while. "Just thinking." "About?" I didn't answer right away. We stopped at the top of a hill that overlooked the main pasture. From here you could see the whole spread, 300 acres of grazing land, scattered timber, and a creek that ran year-round. I had bought it piece by piece over 2 decades. Paid off the last loan 6 years ago. "You ever feel invisible?" I asked. Miguel considered this, pulled off his work gloves and tucked them into his belt. "Every day of my life until I started working here, but not since." "Why not here?" "Because you see people, Ray. You see what they do, what they're capable of. You don't just see what they can do for you." I nodded slowly. We stood there for a while, watching the cattle graze, listening to the wind move through the grass. "Whatever you're thinking about doing," Miguel said eventually, "you've earned the right to do it." I looked at him. "What makes you think I'm thinking about doing anything?" He smiled. "Because I've known you for 22 years, and I know what you look like when you're deciding something important." We walked back to his truck in comfortable silence. Before he left, he turned to me one more time. "Ray, some people spend their whole lives building things for other people and never ask for anything in return. That's noble. But nobility doesn't mean you have to let people treat you like you don't matter." I watched his truck disappear down the drive, dust rising in its wake. Then I walked to the ranch office, a small building near the main barn. Inside, filing cabinets lined the walls, filled with decades of paperwork, contracts, deeds, tax records, insurance policies, the accumulated evidence of a life spent building something that would outlast me. I pulled the drawer labeled Property Holdings and flipped through the files. The mansion Vanessa lived in, 5 rental properties scattered across 2 counties. The ranch itself. Every single document had my name on it. Raymond Holt, sole owner, trustee, beneficiary. After Charlotte passed, I planned everything meticulously. Trusts to avoid probate, insurance policies for emergencies, legal frameworks to ensure that if anything happened to me, Vanessa would be protected. Protected, safe. But I had never transferred ownership. Not officially. The house she called our home belonged to a revocable family trust I controlled. I could dissolve it tomorrow if I wanted. I could sell the property, liquidate the assets, and no one could stop me. Not legally, anyway. I closed the file drawer and sat at the desk, pulled out my laptop and opened my email. Found the contact information for Harold Bennett, my estate attorney. Harold and I had worked together for over 20 years. He had helped me structure the trusts, draft wills, navigate tax law. He was thorough, discreet, and expensive, worth every penny. I typed a message. "Harold, I need to schedule a meeting to review my estate documents, specifically the family trust and property holdings. Let me know your availability this week. This is time sensitive." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The response came within 20 minutes. "Raymond, I have an opening Tuesday at 2. Does that work? Also, is this a routine review, or should I prepare for potential restructuring?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed, "Prepare for restructuring. Significant changes." His reply was immediate. "Understood. See you Tuesday." Friday evening, Vanessa called and asked me to come by the house. Not asked exactly. Told me she needed help with something and could I be there by 6. I arrived at 6 sharp. The driveway was already full of cars I didn't recognize. Eric's BMW, Vanessa's Range Rover, and 3 other luxury vehicles parked at angles that suggested their owners weren't worried about blocking anyone in. I parked on the street and walked up to the front door, could hear voices and laughter inside. Vanessa opened the door before I could knock. "Perfect timing," she said, pulling me inside. "We need to rearrange the furniture for the dinner party tonight. Eric tried to move the dining table, but it's too heavy." I followed her through the foyer into the dining room. The table was solid oak, custom-made, probably 300 pounds. Eric was standing on one end, looking vaguely frustrated. 2 other men I didn't recognize were standing nearby, holding drinks and looking unhelpful. "Hey, Ray," Eric said. "Think you can give me a hand with this?" I set my jacket on a chair, walked over to the table. "Where are we moving it?" "Living room. Vanessa wants a bigger setup for tonight." I grabbed one end. Eric took the other. We lifted, shuffled sideways through the doorway, and maneuvered it into the living room. My back protested by the time we set it down. I'm 61, not 21, but I didn't say anything. "Perfect," Vanessa said, clapping her hands. "Now we need the chairs arranged around it. 8 total, 4 on each side." I spent the next 20 minutes moving chairs, adjusting their positions based on Vanessa's changing preferences. The 2 men I didn't recognize watched, sipping their drinks, making occasional comments about the furniture's aesthetic value. Eric had disappeared somewhere, probably to take a work call. When I finally finished, Vanessa surveyed the setup and nodded. "Looks great, Dad. Thanks so much. You can head out now if you want. Caterers will be here at 7 to handle the food." I looked at the table, the chairs I had just arranged, the effort I had put in. "You don't need help with anything else?" "Nope, we're all set." "Oh, actually, can you take the trash out on your way? It's getting pretty full." I stared at her. She was smiling, already turning away to say something to one of the other guests. I walked to the kitchen, pulled the trash bag from the can, tied it off, and carried it out to the bins in the garage. As I was leaving, Eric appeared. "Ray, thanks for the help. You're always so reliable." "Sure. Listen, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. The property taxes on this place are coming due, and I was wondering if what?" He hesitated. "If maybe the trust could cover them this year. Things have been tight with some of my investments, and it would really help us out." I looked at him. Really looked at him. He was wearing a tailored shirt that probably cost more than I spent on clothes in a year. His watch was Swiss. Expensive. His shoes were Italian leather. "The trust doesn't cover property taxes," I said. "Those are the homeowner's responsibility." "I know, but I thought maybe you could make an exception. Just this once." "No." His expression hardened. "Why not?" "Because the trust is structured for specific purposes. Property taxes aren't one of them." "But you control the trust? You could change it." "I could, but I won't." He looked like he wanted to argue. Then he glanced back toward the living room, where Vanessa was laughing with her guests, and decided against it. "Fine, we'll figure it out." I left without saying goodbye to anyone. At home, I made dinner. Grilled chicken, steamed vegetables, rice, simple food that tasted like nothing. I ate at the small kitchen table, alone, thinking about Eric asking me to cover property taxes, about Vanessa directing me to take out the trash after I had spent 20 minutes moving furniture, about Tiffany assuming I was a vendor coordinator. After dinner, I opened my laptop and started searching for real estate agents. Found one I had worked with years ago named Karen Simmons. She specialized in high-end properties. I sent her an email. "Karen, I need to discuss listing a property, confidentially. Can we talk Monday?" Her response came Saturday morning. "Raymond, of course. I'm available Monday at 10. What's the address?" I gave her the mansion's address. Her next email said, "Isn't that your daughter's house?" I replied, "It's my house. She lives in it." No response after that, just, "See you Monday at 10. Sunday morning, I woke early and drove to the ranch. Miguel was already there, fixing a section of fence near the north pasture. I parked and walked over, carrying 2 thermoses of coffee. "Thought you might need this," I said, handing him one. We stood there, drinking coffee, watching the sun climb higher. Miguel didn't ask why I had driven out on a Sunday morning. He just accepted the coffee and the company. "Ray," he said after a while, "can I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead." "When did you know you'd made it?" I thought about that. Made it how? Made it in life. Financially, I mean. When did you know you didn't have to worry anymore? I'm not sure I ever stopped worrying, but if you're asking when I knew I was secure, probably around 15 years ago, after I paid off the ranch. After the rental properties started generating consistent income, when I looked at my accounts and realized I had enough to retire comfortably and still leave something behind. He nodded. Must be a good feeling. It was. For a while. What changed? I sipped my coffee, watched a hawk circle overhead. I realized that financial security doesn't guarantee respect. People can live in houses you bought them, drive cars you helped pay for, send their kids to schools you funded, and still treat you like you're nothing more than a checkbook. Miguel turned to look at me. Vanessa? And Eric, and everyone else who sees me as useful but not valuable. We stood in silence for a few more minutes. Then Miguel said, My father used to tell me that you can't make people appreciate you. You can only decide whether you're going to keep giving them opportunities to take you for granted. Your father was a smart man. Yes, he remained poor but smart. I smiled despite myself. I'm meeting with my attorney Tuesday. Going to make some changes. What kind of changes? The kind that teach people what they had while they still had it. Miguel nodded slowly. You need anything from me? Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep the ranch running. Always. Monday morning, I met Karen at the mansion. Vanessa was at work. Eric was at his office. The house was empty, which made the walk-through easier. Karen moved through every room with a practiced eye, taking notes on her tablet, occasionally snapping photos. She commented on the finishes, the layout, the natural light. Everything was professional, detached. This is a beautiful property, she said as we stood in the master bedroom. Well-maintained, excellent location, solid bones. In this market, I'd say we could list at $750 and probably get close to asking. How long to sell? 2 weeks, maybe 3 if we're selective about buyers. I can keep it off the public MLS, work through my private network, less visibility, faster turnaround, and more discretion. Do that. She made another note. Raymond, I have to ask. What's your plan for informing Vanessa? I'll handle it when the time comes. All right. I'll have the listing ready by Friday. We'll need professional photos, staging consultation, all the usual prep work. Can you give me access to do that this week? I'll arrange it. She nodded, not pressing further. As we walked back downstairs, she stopped in the foyer and turned to me. Raymond, I've known you for over a decade. I've never seen you make an impulsive decision, so I trust you know what you're doing. But I want to make sure you've thought through the implications. I've thought through nothing else for the past week. And you're certain? I'm certain. Then I'll get started. That evening, Vanessa called. I let it ring. She called again an hour later. I let it ring again. On the third call, I answered. Dad, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all day. I've been busy. Busy with what? Never mind. Listen, I need to talk to you about something. Can you come by tomorrow? No. No? What do you mean, no? I mean, I'm not available. She sighed, that exasperated sound that suggested I was being unreasonable. Fine. Can we at least talk on the phone? About what? About the party. You left so weird the other night when you came to help with the furniture. People were asking about you. I'm sure they were. What does that mean? It means exactly what it sounds like. Dad, you're being really strange. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. Are you sure? Because you sound, I don't know, upset or something. I'm not upset. Okay, well, I also wanted to ask about Thanksgiving. Are you hosting this year or should we? I'm not hosting. Okay, so we'll host. That works. I'll send you the details. Don't bother. Why not? Because I won't be there. Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, what do you mean you won't be there? I mean, I have other plans. What plans? That's not your concern. Her tone shifted. Dad, what's going on? You're acting really weird. Am I? Yes. And honestly, it's kind of childish. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Childish. Well, yeah, you're being all passive-aggressive and mysterious. If something's bothering you, just say it. All right, something's bothering me. Finally, what is it? You treat me like hired help? What? No, I don't. Yes, you do. You call me when you need furniture moved or bills paid. You ask me to handle logistics and take out trash. You introduce me to people by explaining how useful I am, not who I am. Dad, that's not... You're reading into things. Am I? When was the last time you asked how I was doing? When was the last time you invited me somewhere that didn't involve me doing something for you? That's not fair. I'm busy. You know that. Eric and I both work full-time, and Lily has school and activities. We're juggling a lot. And I'm not? Well, no offense, but you're retired. You have time. I'm not retired. I still manage rental properties, oversee the ranch, and handle more in a day than you realize. Okay, but I need to go, Vanessa. Wait, don't hang up. Let's talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I've said what I needed to say. But I hung up. Tuesday afternoon, I sat across from Harold Bennett in his office. The walls were lined with law books, the desk covered in files organized with the precision of someone who understood that details mattered. Harold was 67, gray-haired, and methodical in everything he did. All right, Raymond, he said, folding his hands on the desk. You said you wanted to restructure. Walk me through what you're thinking. I told him everything. The party logistics, the furniture moving, the trash, the way Tiffany assumed I was a vendor coordinator, the way Vanessa talked about me like I was a service provider rather than her father. I didn't embellish, didn't editorialize, just laid out the facts. When I finished, Harold leaned back in his chair and studied me. And what outcome are you hoping for? I want to reclaim my assets. Specifically, I want to sell the mansion and transfer the ranch to someone who will appreciate it. Who? Miguel Reyes, my foreman. Harold made a note. All right, let's talk about the legal framework. The mansion is held in a revocable family trust, correct? Correct. Which means you, as the trustee, can dissolve the trust at any time and sell the property. Proceeds would go to you. Vanessa has no legal claim to the house, even though she's lived there for years. That's my understanding. It is. The only potential complication would be if she tried to claim some kind of implied tenancy or adverse possession, but given that she's never paid property taxes or contributed to the mortgage, that wouldn't hold up. So I can sell it. Yes, and I can handle the trust dissolution and sale paperwork. How quickly do you want to move? As quickly as possible. I can have the dissolution documents ready by end of day. Once you sign, the property reverts to your sole ownership, and you're free to sell. How's that part progressing? I'm meeting with a realtor. She thinks she can move it in 2 to 3 weeks. Good. Now let's talk about the ranch. You want to transfer it to Miguel Reyes? Yes. As a gift or a sale? A gift. Harold's eyebrows rose slightly. Raymond, that's a significant asset. The ranch is worth what? Over $1 million? 1.2, based on the last appraisal. And you're giving it to your foreman? Yes. May I ask why? Because he's earned it. Because he's worked that land for 22 years and treated it with more respect than my own daughter has shown me. Because I trust him to care for it the way it deserves. Harold nodded slowly. All right. I'll need Miguel's full legal name, address, and consent signature. The transfer will trigger gift tax implications for you, but given your overall estate, that shouldn't be a problem. We'll need to file the deed transfer with the county, which takes about 2 weeks. Do it. Raymond, I have to ask, are you certain about this? These are irreversible decisions. Once the mansion is sold and the ranch is transferred, you can't undo it. And your relationship with Vanessa will be exactly what it's been for years. The only difference is she'll finally understand what I actually contribute. She's going to be furious. I know. She might try to contest the trust dissolution. On what grounds? Everything is legally mine. Emotional grounds. She'll argue that you promised her the house, that she's relied on it, that you're being vindictive. Let her argue. I have every right to manage my own assets. Harold studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, I'll start the paperwork. But Raymond, one thing I've learned in 40 years of practicing law, families are messier than contracts. You can win legally and still lose something important. I'm aware, and I've decided it's a price I'm willing to pay. He opened his laptop and began typing. Let's start with the ranch transfer. I'll call Miguel today, arrange for him to come in and sign. Then we'll move to the trust dissolution. I'll have documents ready for you to sign by Thursday. Thank you, Harold. Don't thank me yet. Wait until you see how this plays out. I left Harold's office feeling lighter than I had in months. The machinery was in motion. The decisions were made. Now it was just a matter of following through. That evening I called Miguel. Ray, what's up? I need you to come into town tomorrow. Meet me at Harold Bennett's office at 2. What's this about? I'm transferring the ranch to you. Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, what? I'm giving you the ranch. Full ownership. No strings attached. Ray, I don't understand. Why? Because you've earned it. Because I trust you. Because I want to know the land is in good hands. I can't afford to buy the ranch from you. You're not buying it. I'm giving it to you. More silence. Then, Ray, this is too much. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. And you will. Be at Harold's office at 2 tomorrow. Ray. 2 o'clock, Miguel. Don't make me come drag you there. He laughed, a surprised sound. All right. I'll be there. Wednesday afternoon, Miguel and I sat in Harold's office. The deed transfer documents were spread across the desk. Harold walked us through every page, explaining clauses, legal language, and implications. "This is a warranty deed," he said, pointing to the first document. "It transfers full ownership of the property from Raymond Holt to Miguel Reyes. No liens, no encumbrances, no conditions. Once you sign Miguel, the ranch is yours." Miguel looked at me. "Ray, are you absolutely sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything. I've worked for you for 22 years. You've paid me well, treated me with respect. You don't owe me this." "This isn't about owing. This is about wanting the ranch to belong to someone who understands what it means, someone who'll care for it the way it deserves." Harold slid the documents toward Miguel. "All I need is your signature on pages 3, 7, and 12. Miguel picked up the pen. His hand shook slightly as he signed the first page, the second, the third. When he finished, he set the pen down and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite name. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just take care of the land." Harold collected the documents, stacked them neatly, and placed them in a folder. "I'll file these with the county tomorrow morning. Miguel, you should receive confirmation of the transfer within a week." We stood to leave. In the parking lot, Miguel stopped and turned to me. "What are you going to do now?" he asked. "Finish what I started." "The mansion?" "Yes." "Does Vanessa know?" "Not yet." He nodded. "When she finds out, it's going to get ugly." "I know." "You're ready for that?" "I'm ready." He shook my hand, held it for a moment longer than necessary, then got in his truck and drove away. I stood there in the parking lot, feeling the finality of what I had just done. The ranch was gone, transferred, out of my hands and into Miguel's. And it felt right in a way I couldn't fully explain. Thursday morning, I signed the trust dissolution documents in Harold's office. 15 minutes, 3 signatures, and the mansion reverted to my sole ownership. By noon, Karen had the listing live in her private network. By 5, she called with news. "Raymond, I have a buyer. Young couple, both doctors, relocating from out of state. They're offering $740,000, cash deal, quick close." "How quick?" 10 days if you're ready." "I'm ready." "All right, I'll send the paperwork tonight. Sign and return, and we'll lock it in." That evening, I signed the sale documents, scanned them, sent them back. The mansion was sold. All that was left was waiting for the closing. Friday afternoon, Vanessa called. I let it ring 3 times before answering. "Dad, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all week." "I've been busy." "With what?" "Personal matters." "Okay, well listen. I just got a really weird call from someone claiming to be a realtor. She said something about the house being under contract." "What is she talking about?" I took a breath. "The house is sold." "What?" "I sold the house. Closing is next Friday." Silence. Then, "You're joking." "I'm not." "You can't sell our house. It's not your house. It's mine." "We live here." "I'm aware." "Dad, this isn't funny. You can't just sell our home without telling us." "I can, actually. The property was held in a trust I control. I dissolved the trust and sold the asset. All legal, all proper." Her voice rose. "You're kicking us out." "I'm selling a property I own. What you do after that is up to you." "This is insane. Eric and I have jobs. Lily has school. We can't just move on a week's notice." "You'll figure it out. You're resourceful people." "Dad, please, you can't do this to us." "I already did." She was crying now, her voice breaking. "Why? Why would you do this to your own family?" "Because for 16 years, I've been treated like I'm nothing more than a bank account with legs. And I'm done." "That's not true." "Isn't it? When was the last time you asked about my life? When was the last time you included me in something that didn't involve me paying for it or setting it up?" We've been busy, you know that." "Too busy to show basic respect to the man who bought you that house? Too busy to acknowledge that I'm more than just logistics?" "Dad, please." "The closing is next Friday at 10. You'll need to be out by then." "Where are we supposed to go?" "That's not my problem." "How can you be so cruel?" "I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. For the first time in a long time, I'm being honest about what I will and won't tolerate." She hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling absolutely nothing. No guilt, no regret, no second thoughts. Just the quiet satisfaction of a decision made and followed through. An hour later, Eric called. His voice was tight, controlled, the voice of someone trying very hard not to lose his temper. "Raymond, Vanessa told me what you're doing. I think we need to sit down and talk this through like adults." There's nothing to talk through, Eric. Come on, you're upset, I get it. But selling the house? That's extreme. It's done. The sale closes next Friday. It doesn't have to be final. We can work something out. Maybe renegotiate the trust terms or set up a payment plan. I'm not interested in negotiating. Raymond, be reasonable. We have a child to think about. You should have thought about that before treating me like hired help. His tone shifted, harder now. Is this about the party? About Vanessa's joke? This is about years of being treated like I'm useful, but not valuable. The party was just the moment I stopped pretending it was acceptable. Fine. You want an apology? I'm sorry. Vanessa's sorry. We didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Too late. Raymond, think about what you're doing. You're destroying our family over a perceived slight. No, I'm teaching you what happens when you take someone for granted for long enough. You're being vindictive. I'm being clear. There's a difference. He started to say something else, but I hung up. The rest of the evening passed quietly. I made dinner, watched a documentary about national parks, and went to bed early. No more calls, no more texts, just silence. Saturday morning, the day of Lily's Sweet 16 party, I woke at 5:30. Made coffee, fed the horses, sat on my porch watching the sun rise. The air was cool, carrying the first real hint of autumn. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Are you still coming to the party tonight? I replied. Yes. Another text. We need to talk before the party. I didn't respond to that one. At 8:30, my phone rang. Eric. I let it go to voicemail. He called back immediately, then again. On the fourth call, I answered. Raymond, we need to meet. Today, before the party. No. Please. Just 30 minutes. We can grab coffee somewhere neutral. There's nothing to discuss, Eric. Yes, there is. Vanessa's a wreck. She hasn't slept in days. She's been crying constantly. This is affecting Lily, affecting all of us. That's unfortunate. Raymond, come on, don't be like this. Like what? Honest about how I've been treated? He took a breath, clearly trying to control his frustration. Look, I'll admit we've taken you for granted. We should have been more appreciative. But can't we work this out like family? Family respects each other, Eric. You and Vanessa have had 16 years to figure that out. So that's it? You're just going to walk away from us? I'm not walking away. I'm stopping you from walking on me. He was silent for a moment. Then, the realtor called yesterday, said we have until Friday to vacate. Where are we supposed to go, Raymond? We can't find a place that fast. Hotels exist. Short-term rentals exist. You'll figure it out. We have a daughter, for Christ's sake. I'm aware. I've been her grandfather for 16 years. Paid for her school supplies, her sports equipment, her summer camps, contributed to college funds you don't even know about. Don't lecture me about Lily. Then why are you doing this to her? I'm not doing anything to her. I'm doing something for myself. There's a difference. He exhaled sharply. You know what? Forget it. Come to the party. Don't come to the party. I don't care anymore. But when Lily asks why her grandfather abandoned her family, I'll make sure she knows exactly whose choice it was. Tell her whatever you want. The truth is in the bank records. I hung up. At noon, I drove into town to pick up a gift I had ordered for Lily weeks ago. A necklace, silver with a small pendant shaped like a compass. The inscription on the back read, Find your own way. Love, Grandpa Ray. I had ordered it before everything fell apart. Before the party planning revealed what I really was to them. Before I decided to reclaim my life. The jeweler, an older man named Thomas, handed me the box with a warm smile. Beautiful piece. Your granddaughter will love it. I hope so. Big party tonight? Sweet 16. Ah, those are special. My youngest had hers 3 years ago. Expensive as hell, but worth every penny when you see them happy. I nodded, paying for the necklace. As I turned to leave, Thomas called after me. Hey, Raymond, make sure you get in some pictures tonight. Time moves faster than you think. I paused at the door. I'll try. Back home, I wrapped the necklace carefully. Wrote a card. Lily, may you always know your worth and never settle for less than you deserve. You are loved more than you know. I sealed the envelope and set it with the gift box on my kitchen table. Stared at it for a long time. Whatever happened tonight, whatever Vanessa said or Eric threatened, Lily deserved to know that I loved her. That this was never about her. At 2, I called Harold. Raymond, everything all right? Just confirming the closing is still on schedule for Friday. It is. Buyers are ready. Paperwork is prepared. You just need to show up and sign. Good. Are you having second thoughts? No, just making sure there's no going back. There isn't, and once those documents are signed, the house belongs to the buyers. Vanessa and Eric will have no legal recourse. That's what I needed to hear. Raymond, can I ask you something? Tonight at the party, are you going to tell them about the closing? I thought about that. No, let them enjoy tonight. They'll find out soon enough. That's probably wise. No point ruining the girl's birthday. Exactly. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen and ate a sandwich, drank a glass of water, checked the clock, 3 hours until I needed to leave. I spent the time going through old photo albums, pictures of Charlotte, pictures of Vanessa as a child, smiling, laughing, hugging me tight, pictures of Lily as a baby, as a toddler, as a young girl growing into someone remarkable. Somewhere along the way, things had shifted. The love had remained, but the respect had eroded. I had become a means to an end instead of a person who mattered. At 4, I showered, dressed in khakis and a button-down shirt, and drove to the venue. I arrived early, parking in the far corner of the lot, away from where the valet would be directing guests. The ballroom was already transformed, gold and white everywhere, balloons in massive arrangements, tables draped in silk, centerpieces made of flowers that probably cost more than most people spent on wedding bouquets. A DJ booth in the corner, lights already cycling through patterns. Everything sparkled. Everything screamed money. I stood near the entrance, hands in my pockets, watching the setup crew make final adjustments. Tiffany rushed past me twice without acknowledgement. On the third pass, she stopped. Oh, you're here early. Are you part of the family? I looked at her. We had met. She knew who I was. But apparently I wasn't memorable enough to register. I'm Lily's grandfather. Her face lit up with recognition. Right, of course. I'm so sorry, we met at the office. Things are just so hectic right now. I understand. Everything's on schedule. Vanessa should be here around 6:30 with Lily. I nodded. She hurried off, clipboard in hand, calling out instructions to someone about lighting. At 6:15, guests started arriving. Teenagers in expensive clothes, parents in suits and cocktail dresses. Everyone performed the ritual of air kisses and compliments. I moved to the back wall, staying out of the flow of traffic. At 6:30, Vanessa arrived with Lily and Eric. Vanessa was wearing a dress that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. Lily looked beautiful and nervous, clutching her mother's arm. Eric followed behind, checking his phone. Vanessa spotted me immediately. Her expression hardened. She said something to Eric, who looked over and nodded. Then she walked directly to me. We need to talk, she said quietly. Not here, not now. Yes, here. Yes, now. Vanessa, this is Lily's night. Don't ruin it. I'm not the one ruining things. I'm not discussing this at your daughter's party. She stared at me, jaw tight. Then she turned and walked away. The party began. Music filled the space. Lily was surrounded by friends, laughing, taking pictures, enjoying herself. That at least made everything worthwhile. Whatever was happening between Vanessa and me, Lily deserved her night. At 7:30, dinner was served. I found my assigned seat at the far end of a long table, between two couples I didn't know. I introduced myself as Lily's grandfather. They smiled politely and turned back to their own conversations. Dinner was plated courses, salad with pomegranate seeds and goat cheese, soup made from vegetables I couldn't identify. A choice of chicken or fish, both prepared with sauces and garnishes that made them barely recognizable. I ate quietly, listening to fragments of conversations around me. The woman to my left, Jennifer, talked about a trip to Tuscany. Her husband, Mark, discussed market volatility and investment strategies. Another couple debated private schools versus public schools. No one asked me anything. No one included me. At 8:30, Vanessa stood up, tapped a spoon against her champagne glass. The room quieted, all eyes turning toward her. I just want to say a few words, she began, her voice carrying across the ballroom. First, thank you all for coming tonight. It means the world to us that you're here to celebrate Lily. Applause. Lily smiled, blushing. Vanessa continued. Planning this party has been such a journey. Eric and I wanted everything to be perfect for our daughter. We wanted her to have a night she'd remember forever. More applause. And we couldn't have done it without help, Vanessa said, scanning the room. Her eyes found mine. My dad has been incredible through all of this. Seriously, I don't know what we would have done without him. People turned to look at me. I sat perfectly still. No, really, Vanessa went on. Dad handled all the logistics, made sure everything got paid on time, coordinated with vendors. He's basically been our personal assistant through this whole process. Scattered laughter, the kind that fills awkward space. Actually, he's been more than an assistant. He's been like our chauffeur, our errand guy, always ready to help with whatever we need. Louder laughter now. Someone whistled. Someone else started clapping. "Dad, stand up," Vanessa said, still smiling. "Let everyone see you." I didn't move. "Come on, don't be shy. Stand up." I felt every eye in the room turn toward me. The music had stopped. The space was completely silent except for Vanessa's voice. Slowly, I stood. "There he is," Vanessa said, raising her glass. "Our logistics guy, our chauffeur. Let's hear it for Dad." The room erupted in applause. People were laughing, clapping, a few even standing. I stood there silent, feeling something cold and clear crystallize inside me. The applause went on for several seconds. Then it started to taper off, people sensing something was wrong. I wasn't smiling, wasn't waving, wasn't playing along. The clapping stopped. The room gradually went quiet. Vanessa's smile faltered. "Dad, it's just a joke. Don't be so serious." I looked at her, really looked at her, saw my daughter, the girl I had raised, the woman I had supported for 38 years, and felt absolutely nothing. I turned and walked toward the exit. No one tried to stop me. No one said anything. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck for a long time. The engine was off. The night was quiet. I could hear music from inside the venue, muffled and distant. Could see lights flashing through the windows. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. "Where did you go?" I didn't respond. Another text. "Dad, seriously. People are asking about you." I turned off my phone. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, just thinking. About Charlotte, about the life we had built together, about the daughter we had raised, about whether we had done something wrong, or if this was just who Vanessa had become. I thought about Miguel, about Harold, about Karen, about all the people who had told me in their own ways that I deserved better than this. And I realized they were right. I started the engine and drove home. Sunday morning, I woke at 5, made coffee, sat on my porch. The world was still and quiet, the way it is before the rest of humanity wakes up and makes noise. My phone, which I had turned back on, showed 37 missed calls and 18 text messages. I didn't read any of them. At 8, Harold called. "Raymond, just confirming that everything is still on track for the closing on Friday." "Everything's on track. Have you heard from Vanessa?" "Multiple times. I haven't responded. She called my office yesterday. 3 times. I didn't take the calls. Thank you. The deed transfer for the ranch went through. Miguel is now the legal owner. I'm sending him the final documents today." "Good. Raymond, how are you doing?" "I'm fine." "Are you sure? Because what you're doing is significant. I want to make sure you're prepared for the fallout." "I'm prepared." "All right. I'll see you Friday at the closing." At noon, I drove out to the ranch. Miguel was on the porch, same as I had been that morning, drinking coffee and watching the world. "I thought you might show up," he said when I parked. I climbed the steps and sat beside him. He handed me a thermos of coffee he'd clearly poured in anticipation of my arrival. "How was the party?" he asked. "Educational." "That bad?" "Worse. She called me a chauffeur in front of 100 people." Miguel winced. "And what did you do?" "I left." "Good." We sat in silence for a while, drinking coffee, watching the cattle move slowly across the pasture. "I got the final documents from Harold this morning," Miguel said eventually. "The ranch is officially mine." "How does it feel?" "Strange. Good strange, but strange. I keep expecting you to show up and tell me I need to move the herd or fix a fence. You don't need me to tell you those things. You never did." "Maybe not, but it was good having you here." "I'll still come by, if that's all right." "Of course it's all right. This is your land, Ray. It always will be, no matter whose name is on the deed." I felt something tighten in my chest, nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "What happens now?" Miguel asked. "After the closing?" "I don't know. Maybe I'll travel. See some places I've always talked about but never visited." "Where?" "Montana, maybe. I've always wanted to see Glacier National Park. Or maybe the Pacific Northwest. I've never been to Seattle." "Sounds good. You've earned it." I smiled. Everyone keeps saying that. "Because it's true." We finished our coffee. Before I left, Miguel walked me to my truck. "Ray," he said, "I know things are hard with Vanessa right now, but don't close that door completely. She's your daughter. Maybe someday she'll understand what she lost. Maybe, but that's her choice to make, not mine." "Fair enough." I drove home feeling lighter. The ranch was secure. Miguel would care for it. That chapter was closed, and it had ended the way it should. Now there was just one thing left to finish. Monday morning, I woke to pounding on my front door. Loud, insistent, the kind of knocking that suggested whoever was on the other side wasn't going to leave. I got out of bed, pulled on jeans and a t-shirt, and opened the door. Vanessa stood there, eyes red, mascara smudged. Eric was behind her, looking exhausted. "We need to talk," she said. "No, we don't." "Yes, we do. Dad, please, let us in." I stepped aside. They walked into my small living room and stood there, looking around at my modest furniture, my outdated TV, my plain walls. I saw Vanessa's expression shift as she took it all in, some mixture of surprise and judgment. "Can we sit?" Eric asked. "If you want." They sat on my couch. I remained standing. "Dad," Vanessa began, her voice shaking, "what you're doing is cruel. It's vindictive. It's not like you." "Isn't it?" "No. You're kind and patient and supportive. That's who you've always been." "I've been those things because I chose to be, not because I'm required to be." "But you're our family. Family helps each other. Family respects each other. You haven't respected me in years." "That's not true." "Then explain Saturday night. Explain calling me your chauffeur in front of 100 people." "It was a joke." "No, it was how you actually see me. You just said it out loud." Eric leaned forward. "Raymond, we acknowledge that we've taken you for granted. We're sorry for that. But don't you think this response is extreme? Selling our home?" "It's not your home. It never was. We've lived there for 14 years. In a house I bought, that I paid property taxes on, that I maintained." Vanessa pulled out her phone, swiped frantically, and held it up to show me. "Look, I've been calling realtors all weekend. The cheapest rental we can find that fits our needs is $4,000 a month. $4,000! We don't have that kind of money just lying around. Then downsize. Find something smaller. Lily's in high school. She has friends in the neighborhood. You're asking us to uproot her entire life. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm simply no longer subsidizing a lifestyle you can't afford on your own." Eric stood up, his face flushing. "You know what this is really about? It's about control. You're punishing us because we don't grovel enough, because we don't thank you every 5 minutes for things you chose to give us." "No, Eric. This is about being treated like a human being with value beyond my bank account." "We do value you." "Really? When was the last time you invited me to something that didn't require me to pay for it or set it up? When was the last time you asked about my life, my interests, my plans?" They were both silent. "Exactly," I said. "You value what I provide, not who I am." Vanessa started crying again, big heaving sobs that shook her shoulders. "Dad, please, I'm begging you, don't do this to us. We'll change. We'll be better. Just give us another chance." I looked at my daughter, at the woman I had raised and loved and sacrificed for, and felt something crack inside me, not enough to change my mind, but enough to hurt. "The closing is Friday at 10, I said quietly. "The buyers are taking possession immediately. You need to be out by 9. Where are we supposed to put all our furniture, all our things? Storage units exist, or sell what you can't keep. Those are your decisions to make." Eric grabbed Vanessa's hand and pulled her toward the door. "Come on, we're done here. He's made up his mind." At the door, Vanessa turned back. "You're going to regret this. Someday you're going to wake up alone and realize you threw away your family over your pride." "Maybe, but at least I'll wake up with my dignity intact." They left. The door slammed. I stood there in the sudden silence, feeling the weight of what I had just done. My phone rang. Patricia from the bank. "Mr. Holt, I wanted to give you a heads up. Eric just left here. He tried to take out a loan using the mansion as collateral. I had to inform him that the property is no longer in the family trust and is currently under contract of sale." "How did he react?" "Not well. He raised his voice, demanded to speak to a manager. I had security escort him out." "I'm sorry you had to deal with that." "It's fine. I just wanted you to know. He also asked about your other properties, wanted addresses and values. I didn't provide any information." "Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate your discretion." "Of course, Mr. Holt. That's what we're here for." After we hung up, I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table, pulled out a notebook and started making a list of things I needed to do before leaving for Montana: cancel utilities at the mansion, make sure all final bills were paid, verify the trust dissolution paperwork was filed, confirm with Karen that the closing was set. At noon, my phone rang again, a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "Mr. Holt, this is Lisa from Mountain View Storage. Your daughter just called trying to rent a unit under your name and credit card. I wanted to verify the authorization before processing. Don't process it. I haven't authorized anything. Understood. Thank you for confirming. Another call, this time from a moving company. Same story. Vanessa trying to book services using my information. I called my credit card company and put a fraud alert on all my accounts. Changed my passwords, added two-factor authentication to everything. They were desperate. I understood that. But desperation didn't justify theft. At 2, Karen called. Raymond, just wanted to confirm we're still on for Friday. Buyers are very excited. They've already started planning renovations. We're still on. Good. Also, I drove by the property this morning, noticed a lot of activity, moving trucks, people loading boxes. Thought you should know. They're starting early. That's fine. As long as they're out by closing, we're good. Oh, and one more thing. Vanessa called me. Asked if there was any way to delay the closing, buy them more time. I told her no. Thank you. She wasn't happy. Threatened to sue me, actually. She has no grounds. I know. My lawyer confirmed. But heads up, she might try to make trouble. Let her try. Tuesday afternoon, I drove out to the ranch. Miguel was repairing a section of fence near the creek. I parked and walked over, carrying 2 thermoses of coffee. Thought you could use this, I said. He took one gratefully. You look tired. Long couple of days. Vanessa? And Eric. They came by yesterday. Then spent the day trying to use my credit to rent storage units and moving trucks. Miguel shook his head. That's low. It's desperate. They're scared. Still low. We drank our coffee, watching the creek flow past. The water was clear, moving fast over smooth stones. Ray, Miguel said after a while, can I tell you something? Of course. When I was younger, maybe 30, I worked for a man who owned a ranch down in Texas. Big spread, 1,000 acres, good cattle operation. I worked my tail off for him. 7 days a week, sunrise to sunset. He paid me barely minimum wage, said I should be grateful for the opportunity to learn. What happened? One day, his son came back from college, took one look at the operation and decided he wanted to modernize everything. Fired half the crew, including me. Told me I was too old-fashioned, too set in my ways. That must have been hard. It was. But you know what I learned? That loyalty only matters when it goes both ways. I spent 5 years giving that man everything I had, and he let his kid throw me out without a second thought. How long before you found work? 3 months. Nearly lost my truck, almost ended up homeless. But I learned something important. Never give more to people than they're willing to give back to you. That's a hard lesson. It is, but it's one you finally learned. Better late than never. We finished our coffee. Before I left, Miguel walked me to my truck. You leaving soon? He asked. After the closing Friday, probably head out Saturday morning. You need anything before you go? Just keep the ranch running. That's all I need. He nodded. You know where to find me if you change your mind about anything. I won't change my mind. I know, but the offer stands anyway. I drove home feeling lighter. One more day, one more closing, then I was free. The week passed slowly. Karen called Wednesday to confirm everything was on track for the closing. Harold called Thursday to review the final paperwork. Miguel texted to ask if I was okay. I responded to all of them with the same message. I'm fine. Friday morning, I woke at 5:30, made coffee, sat on my porch and watched the sun rise. Today was the day. By noon, the mansion would belong to someone else. The chapter would be closed. At 9, I drove to the closing office. It was in a plain building downtown, the kind of place that handles real estate transactions and notary services. Nothing fancy, just business. Karen was already there, along with the buyers, a young couple in their early 30s. They were excited, talking about paint colors and furniture arrangements. I shook their hands, signed where Harold indicated, and accepted the cashier's check. $740,000. The transaction took less than an hour. By 10:30, I was walking out with the check in my pocket and no obligations left. Raymond, Karen said, catching up to me in the parking lot. Are you sure you're okay? You seem... I'm fine. If you need anything... I won't. But thank you, Karen. For everything. She nodded, gave me a brief hug, and went back inside. I sat in my truck and looked at the check. It represented decades of work. Sacrifice. Building something for someone who hadn't appreciated it. And now, finally, it was mine again. I drove to the bank, deposited the check, watched my account balance update. Then I drove past the mansion one last time. A moving truck was in the driveway. Vanessa's Range Rover was parked at an angle, blocking half the street. Through the windows, I could see people moving inside. frantic, rushed. I didn't stop, didn't slow down, just drove past like it was any other house on any other street. At home, I made lunch, sat at my kitchen table and ate in silence. My phone buzzed occasionally, but I didn't check it. At 3, someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find Lily standing there. She was alone. "Hi, Grandpa," she said quietly. "Lily, what are you doing here? Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked past me into the living room and sat on the couch where her parents had sat earlier in the week. "I wanted to talk to you," she said. "About what?" "About what's happening. About Mom and Dad and the house. Lily, this isn't something you need to worry about. But I do worry. Mom's been crying all week. Dad's been angry and stressed. And you haven't answered any of their calls." "No, I haven't." "Why not?" I sat down across from her. "Because sometimes people need to feel the consequences of their actions." "What did they do?" "They forgot that respect goes both ways. That family isn't just about what you can get from someone." "But they love you." "Maybe. But love without respect isn't enough." She looked down at her hands. "Is this because of the party? Because of what Mom said?" "That was part of it. She didn't mean it. She was just trying to be funny." "I know, but it was how she actually sees me, and I'm tired of being seen that way." Tears started rolling down her cheeks. "I don't want you to be mad at us. I don't want our family to be broken." I moved to sit beside her, put my arm around her shoulders. "I'm not mad at you, Lily. I never have been. This is between your parents and me. But it affects all of us." "I know, and I'm sorry for that. But sometimes adults have to make hard decisions." "Will you ever forgive them?" "Maybe. Someday, but not today." She leaned against me, crying quietly. I held her and felt something crack in the resolve I had built up over the past 2 weeks. Not enough to change my mind, but enough to remind me that there were casualties in this that I hadn't fully considered. After a while, she pulled away and wiped her eyes. "I should go. Mom doesn't know I'm here." "How did you get here?" "I drove. I just got my license last month." "Be careful driving home." "I will." She stood, then turned back to me. "Grandpa, for what it's worth, I think you're amazing. I always have." I watched her walk out, get in her car, and drive away. Then I closed the door and stood there, feeling the weight of what I had done settle fully on my shoulders. It was the right decision. I was certain of that. But that didn't make it easy. Saturday morning, I woke to silence. No calls, no texts, no knocks on the door. I made coffee, fed the horses, and sat on my porch watching the world come alive around me. The air was cool, carrying the scent of autumn. At 10, Harold called. "Raymond, just wanted to confirm everything went through cleanly yesterday. Funds transferred, deeds recorded. You're all clear." "Good. Have you heard from Vanessa?" "Her daughter came by yesterday, but no, not from Vanessa directly." "How are you feeling about everything?" "Like I did what I had to do." "Any regrets?" "None." "Good. That's good. What are your plans now?" "I'm thinking about traveling. Montana, maybe, or the Pacific Northwest." "Sounds like a good plan. You've earned some peace, Raymond." "That's what everyone keeps saying." He chuckled. "Well, it's true. Take care of yourself." After we hung up, I sat for a while, thinking about what came next. The future felt wide open in a way it hadn't in decades. No obligations, no expectations, just time and space to figure out who I was without the weight of being someone's provider. At noon, my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Holt, this is Tiffany from the event planning company. But I wanted to apologize for how things went at the party. I realize now that I should have shown you more respect. I'm sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "Thank you for saying that." Another message came through, this one from Patricia at the bank. "Mr. Holt, wanted to let you know that Vanessa tried to access the trust account again this morning. I declined the request and documented it per your instructions." I replied, "Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate you looking out for me." At 2, I drove out to the ranch. Miguel was in the barn, working on some equipment repair. He looked up when I walked in. "Heard the closing went through," he said. "It did. How do you feel?" "Lighter," he nodded. "Good. That's good." We worked together for a while in comfortable silence, fixed a broken gate hinge, checked water lines, moved some hay bales. It was simple work, physical work, the kind that lets your mind rest. As the sun started setting, we stood on the porch, drinking coffee and watching the light fade. "You know," Miguel said, "I've been thinking about what you did, giving me this place, selling the mansion, walking away from Vanessa and Eric." And and I think it took more courage than most people have. I don't know about that. I do. Most people would have just kept taking it, kept being the quiet provider, hoping eventually someone would notice. Maybe. But you didn't. You drew a line and walked away. That's courage. I sipped my coffee. Or stubbornness. Same thing, sometimes. We watched the last of the light disappear behind the hills. Then Miguel said, "Ray, I want you to know something. This ranch, this land, it'll always be your home. Anytime you want to come out here, stay here, work here, you're welcome, always." "Thank you, Miguel. I mean it. You're family to me. More than blood." I felt that tightness in my chest again. Nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Sunday afternoon, I packed a bag, loaded it into my truck, checked the map for Montana. At 3, I pulled out of my driveway and headed north. The road stretched out ahead of me, empty and endless. I didn't look back. Didn't need to. Behind me was a life I had spent decades building for someone else. Ahead of me was something I hadn't had in a long time. A life that was mine. At a gas station 2 hours north, I stopped to fill up. While the pump ran, I leaned against the truck and watched the highway traffic pass. My phone buzzed. A text from Miguel. "Drive safe, Ray. You've earned this." I smiled, texted back, "Thanks. Take care of the land." "Always." I finished fueling, got back in the truck, and kept driving. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in colors that made everything look new. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. Not someone's father, not someone's chauffeur, not someone's logistics guy, just Raymond Holt, a man who had built something, lost it, and then reclaimed it on his own terms. At a rest stop 3 hours later, I parked and got out to stretch. The air was cold now, carrying the bite of mountain weather. Stars were starting to appear, more than I ever saw in town. A truck pulled in beside me. An older man climbed out, maybe my age, wearing worn jeans and a denim jacket. "Heading north?" he asked. "Montana." "Me too. Been driving?" "First time." He nodded, looking up at the stars. "Beautiful country up there. You'll like it." "I hope so." "Traveling alone?" "Yeah." "Me too. Wife passed a few years back. Kids are grown, living their own lives. Figured it was time to see some places I'd always talked about but never visited. That's exactly why I'm going." He smiled. "Then we're in good company. Safe travels, friend." "You too." He got back in his truck and drove off. I stood there for a few more minutes, looking at the stars, feeling the cold air on my face. Then I got back in my truck and kept driving. Hours passed, towns became smaller, farther apart. The land opened up, wide and empty. I stopped at a diner somewhere in Wyoming, ate a late dinner, and kept going. By midnight, I was in Montana. Pulled into a small motel on the side of the highway. Rented a room for the night. Inside, the room was basic, clean but worn. A bed, a TV, a bathroom with a shower that probably hadn't been updated since the 70s. I lay on the bed, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Dad, it's me. I'm texting from a friend's phone because I know you blocked mine. I just wanted to say that I finally understand. I understand what I lost. I understand what I took for granted. I understand that you were right. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know." I read the message 3 times. Then I set the phone on the nightstand and closed my eyes. Maybe someday I would respond. Maybe someday I would be ready to rebuild something with Vanessa. But not today, not yet. Today, I was exactly where I needed to be. Morning came early. I woke at dawn, showered, and got back on the road. By noon, I was in Glacier National Park. The mountains were massive, snow-capped even in early fall. The air was thin and clean. Everywhere I looked, there was beauty that made everything else seem small and temporary. I parked at a visitor center and walked the trails. Met other hikers, exchanged brief conversations about the views, the weather, the elk someone had seen near the lake. No one asked who I was. No one needed anything from me. I was just another person enjoying the world. At sunset, I stood at an overlook and watched the light change across the mountains. Reds and oranges and purples painting everything in colors that defied description. And I realized I was happy. Not the complicated happiness that comes with family and obligation and relationship. Just simple, uncomplicated happiness. The kind that comes from doing exactly what you want, when you want, without owing anyone an explanation. I pulled out my phone and took a picture. Then I sent it to Miguel with a message. "Made it." His response came immediately. "Knew you would." I stood there until the last of the light faded. Then I walked back to my truck, drove to a nearby town, and found another motel. This was my life now. Open road, new places, no obligations, and it was exactly what I had earned.